2 weeks before departure, while reviewing vendor timelines for a stadium install, my phone buzzed with a group text from my mother. "We've decided Cairo will go instead of you. He'll take better photos." That was it. No explanation, no apology, just a decision dropped like luggage from a speeding car. I blinked at the screen, reread it, then read it again. The message hung in the air like smoke. My name wasn't even in the sentence, just "we" and "decided." So the silence in my office suddenly felt loud. I didn't respond. There was no point. Not yet. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the wall of project binders. I'd spent weeks planning this trip. 10 days in Dubai. First-class tickets, 5-star hotel, desert tours, dinner in the sky, all of it. A retirement gift for my father. A thank you for the years of drywall dust and ruined knees. A chance, maybe, to feel like a family again. And they gave my seat to Bree's fiancé, Cairo, who once tried to pitch me an app idea that already existed in 10 better-funded versions. Cairo, who had never paid for a dinner check without mysteriously needing the restroom. Cairo, who spent Christmas in our living room talking about synergy while borrowing my Wi-Fi password. I opened the Emirates app. My name was still there. For now. I didn't cry. That wasn't how I processed betrayal. Instead, I opened a spreadsheet, labeled it Dubai Recovery, and began making a list. Flights, hotel, tours, refund policies, security contacts. Next to each line item, I wrote one word: mine. Then, I opened a second sheet and titled it Debt Ledger. At the top, I typed their names. I bought the second condo in 2018. 2 bedrooms, nothing fancy, but newer construction and close enough to downtown Bend that it would always rent well. That was the plan, anyway. Passive income. Long-term investment. I ran the numbers a dozen times before signing, locked in a 3.4% fixed rate, and set aside a fund for maintenance. I didn't buy it for them. But when Dad's job dried up during the pandemic, and Mom said, "We just need a little time to get back on our feet," I handed them the keys. No lease, no deposit, just an agreement. $900 a month, utilities covered. It was less than half the market rate. And even that wasn't consistent. By year 2, I'd stopped asking. Asking turned into tension, tension turned into silence. Bree moved in around that time after falling out with some roommates over personality clashes. She brought 6 suitcases, a dog, and a ring she said wasn't official yet, but close. They always had excuses. A delayed invoice, an unexpected car repair, Mom's birthday brunch. I tracked it all. $17,800 in missed rent by last November. I never brought it up again. Not directly. I figured the spreadsheet would protect me from becoming resentful, as if neat rows and conditional formatting could make it fair. They bought a new espresso machine last fall. I recognized it from my Amazon cart. Bree once called me cold for sending a Venmo request after she'd used my Instacart account to order $142 worth of supplements and sushi. "It's not a business, Serene," she said, like I'd broken some unspoken rule of sisterhood. But it always felt like a business, a terrible one. High output, 0 return, and emotionally bankrupt. That morning, I updated the spreadsheet. Then I called a locksmith. Because if they were going to treat me like a landlord, it was time they saw the paperwork. Cairo drifted into our lives the way spoiled cream ruins coffee. Slowly, then all at once. The first time I met him, he shook my hand like it was a branding opportunity, said something about leveraging legacy capital while complimenting the lighting in my condo. He wore tech vests over designer hoodies and name-dropped venture firms like they were close friends. According to Bree, he was a visionary in the co-living disruption space. Though when I asked what that meant, she blinked and said, "It's kind of housing, but smarter." He didn't have a job title, just ideas. Vague ones, mostly centered around what other people should invest in while he nurtured the concept.
Bree adored him. She called him a futurist. Mom called him charming. Dad nodded a lot, probably out of exhaustion. When I announced the Dubai trip at Sunday dinner, I watched my father's eyes light up the way they hadn't in years. He pulled out his old book on desert architecture, said he'd always dreamed of seeing the Burj Khalifa in person. For 5 minutes, I felt something like warmth. Then Bree asked if Cairo could come. I said no, calmly. It's a gift for Dad. I've already booked 4 seats. Silence. Then Bree scoffed. Seriously? You can't just buy one more ticket? I've maxed the budget. And this isn't a vacation. It's a thank you. Bree stood, arms crossed. You're just bitter. No one's ever chosen you first. The words hit harder than I let on. I didn't flinch, just nodded. Cairo looked down at his phone like the whole thing was beneath him. Mom mumbled something about family. Dad avoided eye contact. That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I pulled up the reservation portal and reviewed every cancellation policy, line by line. Then I booked a locksmith for Friday at noon. I called Emirates, pretending to double-check my reservation. I already knew something was wrong. I just needed confirmation. The woman on the other end was polite, efficient. Yes, Miss Calloway, your reservation was updated last week. You're marked as a no-show due to a medical emergency. I didn't breathe. A medical emergency? Yes, she continued. Someone claiming to be your sister called in, said you were hospitalized and would be unable to travel. She requested we change the ticket to her fiancé's name. Unfortunately, name changes aren't permitted for international travel under this fare class. My voice stayed calm. Did anyone attempt to board using that ticket? A pause. Yes, a man attempted to check in under your name yesterday, but was flagged. There's now a fraud note on the reservation. You should contact our fraud department directly. I did. Filed the report, sent in my ID, screenshots, timestamps. They took it seriously. By evening, I knew everything. Cairo had shown up to the airport with my ticket, my name, and a TSA agent who, according to Bree's message, was a friend from college. They were trying to pass him through using my identity. I scrolled through the group text again. The message still sat there, unashamed. We've decided Cairo will go instead of you. He'll take better photos. My seat, my name, my silence. I didn't respond to them. I didn't need to. I opened the spreadsheet I'd started. Next to return flights, I added, cancel flag for misuse. Next to hotel booking, I wrote, call to confirm ID requirement. I moved down the list like I was unbuilding a house. At the bottom of the page, I created a new section, legal risk. Then I opened another tab, logged into the smart lock dashboard for the condo, and changed the access code. Just before I closed my laptop, I looked back at the message one last time and whispered out loud to no one, I see you. And I did, clearly, for the first time. The first call I made was to the hotel, a beachfront property near Jumeirah, booked under my name and credit card. I asked if they would allow check-in without me present. They said no, ID verification required at the desk. Perfect. I canceled the reservation. No refund, I didn't care. Next was the excursion company. I'd booked a full-day desert safari, private SUV, falcon show, dinner under the stars. Canceled. Then the yacht cruise. Then the cooking class. Then the spa. Each time I heard the same tone from the rep on the other end. Confused politeness, subtle concern, but no resistance. The refund emails trickled in, and I logged each one in my spreadsheet beside Cairo's name. Return flights were trickier. Emirates wouldn't let me cancel the completed outbound leg, but they agreed to flag the return flight for security screening. If the same boarding mismatch appears, we'll escalate internally, the fraud rep said. I thanked her. Then I changed my credit card number.
Next came the locks. By 10 p.m., every door in the condo had been rekeyed. I installed 2 motion-activated cameras and a video doorbell synced to my phone. I printed a notice and taped it just inside the window. Entry by non-tenants subject to trespass law. Contact property manager. They weren't technically tenants. No lease, no formal agreement, just a 4-year story. I'd let them write in my name. That changed the next morning. I emailed a local property management firm and paid rush fees to draft a formal lease. Market rate, $2,950 per month. Utilities not included. First and last month's rent due at signing. I requested a 30-day move-in deadline or vacate notice prepared for signature delivery. Last, I called Micah Hollis, a real estate attorney I'd worked with once before. He remembered me. I explained the situation in clean, neutral language. He didn't interrupt, just said, "I'll start the paperwork. We'll do this properly." By the time I shut my laptop that night, I hadn't spoken a single word to my family, but I had reversed every trace of what they took, and the silence felt better than anything they'd ever said. The first message came at 2:14 a.m. "Mira, what did you do? There's no hotel reservation. The guy at the desk just laughed at us." I turned my phone face down and went back to sleep. By morning, there were 12 more. "Malezia's lease. We can't reach anyone. The excursions are gone. What's happening? Cairo, this is completely unprofessional and borderline illegal. You'll be hearing from my attorney, Mara. He broke his arm on the camel ride. Do you even care, Melias? You embarrassed us in front of Cairo's new family. Do you understand what you've done?" I did, and I had a spreadsheet to prove it. I scrolled through the messages like they belonged to strangers. They'd landed in Dubai assuming I'd still carry the load. Even after they kicked me off my own trip, they expected luxury. They got chaos. I imagined them walking into the hotel lobby, tired, smug, expecting cold towels and bellhops, only to hear no reservation under that name. I imagined the panic starting to crack through Mira's polished voice, Cairo huffing into his phone, trying to sound important, Milius red with humiliation. They were three people who had built a world out of assumptions. I had simply removed the scaffolding. Later that afternoon, a video came through. Cairo sitting on a bench with a makeshift sling, Mira in the background yelling at a cab driver. I didn't play. "Melias, you've made your point. We'll sort it out. But this was cruel, Saren. Cruel." The word sat with me longer than I expected. Cruel was paying $30,000 and being replaced. Cruel was using someone's name at airport security without consent. Cruel was telling your daughter she's less photogenic than a man you've known for 11 months. I opened a new tab and made a $1 donation to the GoFundMe Miriam had set up months ago for Thorne's upcoming knee surgery. It was still active, sitting at $311. The site asked if I wanted to make my name public. I did. Under message, I typed "from the daughter who wasn't invited." Then I closed the laptop and made myself tea. I had a meeting with Micah the next morning to sign the eviction packet. They pulled into the driveway like nothing had happened. Mira waved from the passenger seat as if we hadn't spoken in weeks. Cairo stepped out slowly, his arm in a black sling, designer hoodie draped carelessly over it. His expression was pure performance, equal parts wounded and defiant. Mice didn't get out of the car. I met them halfway across the gravel, papers in hand. "This is your new lease, $29.50 a month, first and last due before moving, utilities not included. You have 30 days. Mira blinked. "Are you serious right now?" "I am." "You're evicting your own parents?" she snapped, stepping closer. "I'm offering them a legal contract. That's more than I got." Cairo took the packet from me, flipped through the first page like he was scanning for loopholes. "You can't be serious. This isn't how family works." I looked at him and said flatly, "Then it's good we're not family." He scoffed. "This whole thing could have been resolved with a conversation. You know you didn't need to blow everything up." I motioned to the lease. "That is the conversation." He handed it back like it was beneath him. "I'll have to run this by my advisor." I raised a brow. "Is that your dad or the camel?" Mira gasped. Cairo's jaw tightened. I handed the papers back to him anyway. "You said you wanted a business, Cairo. This is it.
property contracts, payment terms. Consider this your final pitch." They didn't say another word. I turned and walked back inside, locking the door behind me. On the way to the kitchen, I opened the mailbox and found the notarized copy of the eviction filing. Micah had moved fast. They never signed the lease. Not in week 1 when I reminded them by email. Not in week 2 when the property manager dropped off a hard copy with a stamped envelope. By week 3, they stopped acknowledging me altogether. On day 30, I filed the eviction paperwork with the county clerk's office. Cairo sent a text 2 hours later. "You're opening yourself up to serious legal consequences. My attorney will be in touch." I replied with a screenshot of the filing confirmation. Bree left a voicemail sobbing, saying I'd torn the family apart over one stupid vacation. The same Bree who helped Cairo fake a medical emergency and nearly committed identity fraud on my ticket. Mira sent a long email, half guilt, half nostalgia. She talked about the time she stayed up all night sewing my school play costume, the birthday cake she once made from scratch when I turned 11. She ended it with, "I didn't think you'd be capable of this. I raised you better." None of them apologized. Not once. Not for the messages, not for the boarding pass, not for stealing the seat or taking the money or calling me bitter or boring or selfish. They circled around the truth, orbiting it like a planet they refused to land on. I forwarded everything to Micah. Texts, voicemails, screenshots. He told me to hold firm and let the paperwork do its work. By the end of the week, the court date was set. 5 days. I changed nothing about my routine. I drank the same coffee in the same mug, showed up to work early, ate dinner alone, and in peace. But I noticed I slept better. The headaches I'd had for years were gone. The more they fought to stay, the more I understood they'd never truly belonged. They knocked on my door exactly 1 year after the court date. Same porch, same nervous energy, different arrangement. Cairo wasn't with them. Bree stood slightly behind Mira, arms folded tight like she was holding herself in place. Thorne leaned on a cane, face more drawn than I remembered. Time had finally started to show. "We didn't come to fight," she said. I didn't answer, just waited. "We've been doing a lot of thinking about how things went, about the trip, about you." Bree added, barely above a whisper, "Cairo's gone. He left when everything dried up." Thorne cleared his throat. "They say I need surgery. My knees, bone on bone now. Medicare won't cover the whole thing. We just need a little help until we're stable." That phrase again. I felt it hit like a dull thud in my chest. Just until. I reached behind the door and handed them an envelope. Mira blinked. "What's this?" $3,000, I said. "For the knee. That's it." Bree stepped forward. Are we okay now?" "No," I said. "This isn't reconciliation. It's accounting." None of them spoke. Thorne looked at the envelope like it was both a gift and a sentence. Bree looked away. Mice looked like she wanted to cry, but didn't remember how. "I'm not angry," I added. "I just don't owe you anything beyond this." Mice reached out, maybe for my hand, maybe just for contact. I didn't move. They left quietly. I watched them walk to the car, 3 shadows against the dying sun. I wondered if they'd drive home and twist this too. Turn it into something uglier or softer than it was. Maybe both. But I knew what it was. It was the last payment I'd ever make on a family I stopped investing in long ago. The message came a week later. "Until you fix this, you're no longer our daughter." No greeting, no punctuation, just a single sentence tossed like a final stone through a window already broken. I didn't feel anger. Not even surprise, just something that resembled confirmation. I sat with it for a minute, phone resting on the kitchen counter beside the envelope that had gone uncashed. Then I replied, "I stopped being yours the day you sold my seat." I didn't wait for a response. I screenshotted both messages and forwarded them to Micah. I knew he'd log it, just in case anything else came through. Paper trails had become my second language. Then I turned off my phone, packed a weekend bag, and left the condo. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, just drove. Windows down, music low, Oregon's highway curves slipping under my tires like ribbon. The silence wasn't lonely. It was clean. I stopped at a coastal town I'd always meant to visit but never had time for. Checked into a small inn where no one knew my name, walked the cliffs at dusk, let the cold bite my hands, and watched the ocean drag the light away inch by inch. That night, I fell asleep without checking my phone. No notifications, no spreadsheets, no calls about late rent or favors or forgiveness dressed as obligation. When I woke the next morning, I stretched into the stillness like it was something I'd earned. I brewed hotel coffee, sat near the window, and thought about that plane seat. The one I paid for. The one they gave away. I realized I didn't want it back. Not anymore. Not ever.